You know, it's interesting here. I'm sitting here this afternoon, now fully awake, and thinking about some of the videos that I've made in the past couple of months. It's interesting how many views I get on some, and others I don't get any. Some of the ones I thought would be interesting gets maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 if it's in the single digits, and others which I don't know, didn't think they were that important would get 37 or so, or far more than that. But it's kind of interesting. It's a way of observing what people are thinking about and what they think is important and what they don't. I hope that my video on basic training will spark some interest. And yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how we respond to things, is how we're indoctrinated, conditioned, and trained to do it. And how there are very primitive ways of doing it, such as military basic training, and then there's more advanced ways, such as how you're steered around in schools, an established religion, and so forth. And basically, what you end up with is the same thing. It's a form of groupthink. If you, for instance, Noam Chomsky in one of his books wrote about how a graduate student, came to him and asked him if he should write a critique and publish a critique on a book that he had read about the history of the Palestinian people, which seemed to assert that the Palestinians weren't really an ethnicity at all, that they were sort of like a fake ethnicity, that it was all made up somehow. And he said he had found at least 20 mistakes in one chapter, and a place where one reference didn't even was fictitious. It had to have been made up. It just didn't exist. He couldn't find it. And so Noam said that he unwisely told him to go ahead with it. And it raised so much furor among the established intellectuals, the faculty, and so forth at the college where he was doing his postgraduate work, that this young man was ignored. He was shunned. I mean, if he raised his hand in class, he was not answered on, and that kind of thing. He couldn't get his papers reviewed. He couldn't. His advisor tended to avoid him, and it was really a bad time for him. And when he got out of school, when he finally graduated, he didn't get his PhD. He got his master's degree. But when he went to get a job, of course, this reputation followed him. And it tended to restrict the type of jobs he could get and that kind of thing. So this type of stress is very difficult to resist, and you can't really do much about it. You can file lawsuits, naturally. You can do that. But you're probably going to be filing lawsuits through the very people who would disapprove of what you did to begin with. So it's all very interesting. It's what Noam Chomsky calls the very, very well-disciplined intellectual elite. The idea that this is the sign of a highly educated people, if they're able to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to something that is obviously very wrong. Another example of it is the high-toned cheerleading with Hillary Clinton pushing for and successfully getting an agreement between Turkey and Armenia, and something that had happened all the way back during World War I with the slaughter of 1.5 million Armenians. Now the Armenians and the Turks have agreed to open a border between them to establish more normalized relations, even though Turkey will not admit to genocide. See, there's a technicality about genocide. Did this amount to genocide? If it did, then obviously this is an international crime that has to be answered for, I guess. Does that mean that we won't give Turkey any more military aid? If so, will we be able to use that airbase at Incirlik? I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. what is the reasoning behind it? Am I supposed to get feel good morally now? Well, that must be it. I have a morally good feeling now because Armenia and Turkey are beginning to share common views and understandings about the great slaughter of Armenians by the Turks in 1915, where 1.5 million of them were killed. But if it's not genocide, I guess it's not that bad. You can kill 1.5 million people, men, women, children, elderly, the sick, as long as it's not genocide. If it's not genocide, I guess it's okay. Because you see, if it's not okay, folks, what we've been doing in Afghanistan and Iraq and other places will be judged as a crime against humanity. As long as it's not genocide, though, apparently it's okay. It's mind-boggling to me. I can't even get angry anymore. I have to laugh. I do. I have to chuckle. It's all about passing the tests, going through the steps, learning how to take orders and instructions. Matter of fact, that's what was told me one time when I took a college course. This lady came in. She said, folks, if you just understand one thing, if you know how to take instructions, you'll get through any college course with an A. Just learn how to take instructions. And that's pretty much the long and the short of it, as long as it's not genocide.